someone had to tell me when it was time to go on, and I needed a poo. I really, really did, and there was just enough time. And then I just couldn't flush it though. It just would not flush. And I panicked and panicked and panicked, and I ended up, I broke the handle. I had to go straight on stage, at least 5 minutes, absolutely solid dying. And I looked down and I had in my hand, white knuckles, I still had the broken bit of the toilet handle.
That's brilliant.
The broken handle floater died on his ass. I think, yeah, we'll have him again.
Frankie, am I excited? See, Frankie, he knows I'm excited because I'm in Edinburgh at the moment and I'm with a group of people, abnormally funny people, that I helped to start, co-founded 20 years ago with my friend Simon Minty, and Steve Day was one of the first guys on the show, hearing impaired, very funny guy, and I'm sharing a flat with him, so I'm really really excited to shoot Steve, because I've never shot Steve, and he's really into fitness at the moment. He's a cyclist, but I thought was he jogging? He was jogging, Steve Day.
Hey!
Welcome, Steve
Just out
Day.
for a jog, casually.
Steve Day, welcome to the courtyard.
Hi,
This is not the
thank you.
Pleasance courtyard. The Pleasance courtyard is
this
where we're
is
doing
the-
a show. I'm producing the show with Steve Day, and he's been closing.
Opening,
And he's
closing.
still pretty funny. Funny.
Well, I'll never go. I've never thought I was funny, but.
When did you start comedy?
1998.
Do you remember where?
Well, I did a workshop at the City Lit with a lady called Jill Edwards. And then the first gig was a showcase from that group. So it wasn't really like a proper gig, and friends came and all that. That was great. My first proper gig was at the Oval Comedy Club, a fellow called Brian Damage, who ran, I love Brian, and I'm still in contact. He lives in
He's
Australia.
moved to Australia, yeah.
But he ran this club that was very, very esoteric, anarchic, yeah. And I loved that, although I died on my ass. So I'd had a great time at the showcase, because it was all friends, all supportive and lovely. And then I went to the Oval Comedy Club, and but there was only 4 people there, and it was freezing cold. And the idea, of which I've come to love, that it was anarchic, the spirit of stand-up comedy as it was then.
Do you think it's changed? Do you think
It's changed massively. There's no room really, not so much room for that kind of sense of anything could happen. And Brian was really good at letting, I didn't realise, and it seemed to me messy and anarchic, and I wanted to know when I was on, and you didn't, but that's what comedy is like. You never know what's going to happen. But at that time, I had my set that was rigid, and my lines I was going to say, and it sort of knocked me off balance, and I wasn't very good anyway.
Well, I've heard you're Britain's only deaf comedian.
Well, I was. So I thought of the joke, I'm Britain's only deaf comedian. If there are any others, I haven't heard. And that joke has stood me, what is it now, 98, so 27 years.
20, that's like my set, I do that.
But the thing is, I can't think of a better opening joke.
Right.
And so if you can't replace it with a better joke, I have to establish who I am. It's something I need to reference later on, and oftentimes people don't believe me, you see. So there's points of reference. And they're the best jokes I've got for establishing that without spending too many words. Yeah. So if people say, you're still doing the same jokes, you're like, yeah, but for a reason.
But I've also heard that you're only 80%.
Yeah, I'm profoundly, severe profound, so almost profoundly hard of hearing, but I wear hearing aids, and hearing aids...
I was just leading you up to your next joke.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sometimes I say I'm 85% just to add a bit of glamour. Sorry, I didn't realise you were feeding me.
You were saying you lost your hearing at a later stage. Is that why you can speak?
It's a bit of a mystery to me, but I know my hearing suddenly went bad around the age of 19, something like that. I was at university, and all of a sudden I just couldn't hear. There's clues to the fact that I probably was a bit deaf growing up. Because I'm writing a show now about misheard song lyrics, like Stevie Wonder singing "Bacon Fillets all over it." You know,
that's a great idea.
And I've got a board, and it's got the wrong lyric on, and people sing along. Right. I know everybody does that to an extent. I always did that. But those days, there was this magazine called Disco 45 that had the lyrics of songs that you could buy. There was no internet. But it was a shilling, and then 5p. It was a lot. It was quite a lot when you were a kid.
Sorry, did you say a shilling?
Shilling.
You don't remember a shilling?
I do. People called them shillings, though. I remember decimalisations. I'm 61, so I remember when it came in, and people were still saying shillings for 5p for quite a while after. So it was 5p, and that was a lot. In those days as well, pre-internet, you'd find porno mags in bushes, a jazz mag, because that's like a sharing library because there's no internet. But if I went in there, I'd be more happy to find a copy of Disco 45 in the bushes than I was. We had the words to the songs, you see.
That's funny.
So I've always got the words wrong. So I think I was a little bit deaf, and there are things in that made, things that made me think I probably was. And I love music so much that I listened to it on earphones really, really loudly. And I went to the loudest concerts I could. I'm a big music fan, and I think I made my hearing progressively worse.
By not hearing, but going to and putting up things really loudly to make it. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, and I think I deafened myself. I think.
Wow.
But it's so long ago now. It's not really worth, or except if it's for a show. I got a job. I was at university studying engineering for reasons I can't even imagine now. And I got a summer job in Sheffield in the steelworks that was to do with my engineering degree. And they had a hearing test, part of the induction. And they thought I was messing about because I was so bad on there's a thing, they play a sound and when you can hear it. And I did so badly.
Just like guessing, basically.
But I'd worked out so many ways of coping to look like I wasn't deaf, just subconsciously, that they thought I was messing about, you see. And they sort of laughed it off. But after that, I went and got a proper test at the hospital, and they said, "Do you know, you're really, really deaf." Oh, well, they said it a few times, but by the third time they said it, I had cottoned on. And when they tell you you're deaf, you suddenly become more deaf because you're thinking about it. I used to be really self-conscious and think of ways, conversations. There's clues in conversations what people are saying, and you can sort of go along and look like you're following, even though I normally imagine the story someone's telling me is much more entertaining than the one they are actually telling me.
That means you always smile.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm thinking of something they might say, the funniest possibility that they could be coming out with would become the story they're telling me, which often, well, invariably is not.
They could be telling you a really sad thing and you're just laughing.
Yeah, I mean
my gran died and you're thinking...
But then I do find sad things funny sometimes.
Okay.
So
it doesn't matter.
That's a failing, a personal failing.
Why did you start comedy?
Because, you see, something was sort of wrong and I couldn't hear, but it wasn't bad, I didn't think it was bad. Then when they told me I was deaf, and I got really depressed because my confidence just went. And I started making it my excuse for everything. So, I can't hear, so I can't do this, so I won't try. And I got to the age of I was 34, thinking my life is going nowhere because I'm putting myself in prison, not trying. So I was in London and I was working in a good job. I was working in IT when you don't need to hear a lot. It's all on the screen.
Changing my memory card.
I'm sorry. Are we still? We're not.
Yeah.
Are we still? So
I'm just showing my process.
Okay.
What are you saying? I'm talking to you, someone with hearing impaired, changing my SD card, and not the best of things to do.
When I first went to Ireland, it was terrible because it was lovely. The people were lovely, but you can't lip read anyone. They don't do. What are you saying, mate?
Well, it's like my wife when she came over from the former Yugoslavia,
right.
And she had a degree in English, but they taught her Queen's English.
Yeah.
So she went to Manchester and didn't understand. She was really
started
upset.
Mad Brit.
She had no
Mad Brit started. So in Southern Ireland I had a problem, nobody moved their lips. And then I went up to Belfast and I thought, it'll be all right. Everybody was so softly spoken. I thought they'd be going, no surrender. I thought everybody spoke like that. Nobody did. I needed to meet someone, no surrender. The people of Ulster stand united. Nobody spoke like that. So I couldn't hear anybody there either.
Is it because you, what's the phrase, you went deaf rather than were born with
deafened.
It? Deafened. Is that what they say?
Yeah,
deafened?
they say deafened.
Okay,
yeah.
Because you always talk about small d and big D, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. People who are profoundly deaf are a different cultural group. And I understand they suffer the worst. They're the most marginalised. But 1 in 7 people in the whole country are hard of hearing in some way.
My wife has an
So
yeah.
if you say deaf, and that's big D deaf, that's people who are profoundly deaf, sign language community, they are marginalised to a way you wouldn't believe, but they resent me because I'm advertised as deaf comedian and I'm deaf with what they call small d, you see. So it's a problem, and I can tell you the story of
Quick,
because I did a Edinburgh show that became a tour show called Deaf in the Afternoon, and I did 38 nights, and it was great. One of the best things I ever did all around the UK, at art centres, theatres and that. And until the last gig, where a deaf guy come up to me afterwards, and he was really angry. I could tell he was angry. He was angry in a way that only deaf people can, because I understand it, I feel it myself. You're so frustrated. He come up to me and said, you, not deaf, big D, you are small d. I said, well, no, I am. I know. I said, I've been talking about it for the last hour and a half. Had you been paying attention? Which for some reason got him even more angry. He said, no, on your poster, you, big D, on your poster. Well, fucking hell, mate. It's the start of the sentence. It's deaf in the afternoon. And to my regret, I called him a wanker with a big W, and he went off quite happily. It's become a story now, but that is true. Yeah. And there is this resentment between Big D, and I was absolutely shocked when it first began. I had no idea. Yeah. Also, it's a bit of a barrier because, I say on the telly or that sort of thing, if you put someone on deaf, they're going to expect it to be signing Big D. So there's not really a space for, if you could put someone on cerebral palsy in the cerebral palsy group, or whatever, or blind, say, but deaf, it's very political.
Because there's such a spectrum of...
Yeah. And the resentment between the different parts of that. And I don't represent anybody. I don't represent a demographic.
Yeah,
I'm just me.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is my life. So, for example, we're living in the same apartment, me, Steve, and all the comics doing this. I forgot, and I went in the kitchen, I didn't have my hearing aids in, and I cannot communicate. I can't. But I'm not Big D, but I can't communicate without my hearing aids, and I didn't have them. But it doesn't seem to count. You just see what I mean? Yeah. So even doing abnormally funny people, I thought there might be problems along that way. It never has been.
You've got to go to more concerts to really get rid of the last bit of hearing.
Well, I did. I've got a bit about learning sign language. That I signed up for classes.
In
Lewisham.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very good. Yeah. No, I enrolled, but I kept having to miss because it was night school and I had gigs. You see, so I was rubbish. But I had an exam coming up, and the level 1, you got to talk about yourself, and they ask you a standard series of questions. Yeah. First of all, I've got such a weird. My family is so diverse. My wife's African. Family from Nigeria.
Just give us one though.
Which has been a voyage of discovery. She's never asked me for housekeeping money. What she does do though, every couple of months she'll send me an email saying she's got $60 million belonging to the late. But it means, and I only discovered this, but realised less than 5 years ago that I'm the only white person in the house. I've got 5 kids. I didn't even think of it because it's so superficial. You don't even think of it. But, oh yeah, I'm the only white person. But when I did, of course, I went right in, got in all Black Lives Matter, yeah, white privilege. But I came to this conclusion: white privilege might be a problem in the rest of the country, but it's certainly not in our house. I can't even get in the bathroom. So I am thinking of forming my own branch of the EDL just so I can have a shower at the weekend.
Have you done that on stage?
Sorry?
Have you done that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sometimes it works really well, sometimes it will. Yeah. And my children are grown up mostly, the youngest 24. My problem with them as well, I can't remember names. I'm terrible with names. And they've all got partners now. And I've got no chance of thinking. So what I did, it worked really well. I just remembered the girlfriends' names by what they had in a Chinese takeaway. If you're like me, you'll know, you start ordering, you're on your own, or you and your wife start ordering a Chinese and they turn up from nowhere. Like, my son was in Portugal and I started ordering the Chinese and he popped his head round the door and said, oh, you're ordering the Chinese. So I started, his girlfriend, Cameron, I know her as chicken chow mein. So I said foolishly, what happened to black bean sauce? She's not on the scene anymore. But now his twin now, his partner is actually Chinese. I can't do it. I can't do the system because I can't call her chop suey. It just sounds really racist. My whole system, egg foo young. I can't do it anymore.
This is a good episode, a brilliant episode with Steve Day, Britain's only deaf comedian. Remember to like and subscribe. I need people to subscribe. You
like and subscribe now. Why haven't you liked and subscribed?
Exactly. Comment as well. Comment's good.
Comment, like and
comment.
Press all the dots. Oh, that's like TikTok.
And then we're going to get some people saying that's not big D, small d, and we can can get into a debate.
What you want to do is a deliberate mistake, and then people engage.
Remember you saying Gary Delaney does that?
Yeah, he does that, yeah.
Is that his
Clever
secret?
at
You shouldn't say that.
Yeah, no.
Cut that bit out or keep it in.
Make a mistake and then everybody corrects you and your engagement goes way up. Yeah.
What's the mistake we're going to make? You're blind. Steve Dade's the only blind comedian.
Chris McCausland.
Only 80%.
Can I say I've worked with Chris McCausland for more than 20 years, and in all that time he's never done his share of the driving. Always some excuse.
We'll get some comments on that.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe. Back to the interview. Best gig, worst gig. Best gig.
Yeah, okay, right. My best gig I got no money for, but I had a lady called Janice Codley, who goes by the stage name of Barbara Nice in Birmingham, and she is the nearest person I know to be magic. They are brilliant comedians. I've known some brilliant ones, people on the telly, but she's got some kind of performative magic that happens when she performs. So we did a gig for a showcase after some workshops for people with dementia in Birmingham, in a care home. And we started and I thought, there's no way this could ever work. And by the end of it, everyone, even the people who were seemed to be so far away with dementia, performed, and it was brilliant. And the families of those people came along, and they were worried that their grandfather, their father would be laughed at. No, by the end they were in tears and saying, "You brought my dad back." And it's all Janice, all Barbara. It's just absolutely magical. And that's the thing about comedy; it just exists in that moment, and then it's gone. So it was just beautiful. I
think that's one of our nicest, best gigs we've had on the show. That's lovely.
It will never be beaten in my life.
Worst gig.
But then I did a show about my dad, because my dad then got dementia, and that's the best thing that I've done by a long way, because I set out to just tell his story thinking there's no way you can make dementia funny, but I was inspired by what Janice had done.
Is that a dementia with a small D or a big D?
Yeah, no, he had a big D by the end.
Yeah, shit.
And so I tried to tell his life, and then back and forwards. So the dementia bits now would be sad, and the previous bits of his life would be funny. There's lots about the 70s, and about all this fashions and music of the 70s. But it turned out the best laughs came from the bits about his dementia, because my dad was never an angry man.
No.
He was married to my mum for 59 years. Think about it, 59 years. And in all that time, she never heard him swear.
Yeah.
But then after 59 years of marriage, one day, he looked at her and he said, "Who the fuck are you?" And my mum said, "Well, I'm Sheila." I went, "No, Sheila's a young woman, you ugly fucking bitch." And my mum was upset, but I've got 2 brothers. All 3 of us said to her, "Look, it's not him anymore, it's not Dad, it's a dementia." She said, no, Alzheimer's has finally revealed what he was thinking all along. Which I thought was the saddest, and that became the line I look forward most, and that's the one bit of that show that I use in my current stand-up. Yeah. There's no comedy thing that's off limits, and if you mean it, there's humour to be.
But also, if it comes from the point of truth and lived experience, and then people can't start, that's your...
Yeah, fuck you, fuck your dad, and his dementia. Yeah, I know.
That's brilliant. But it's interesting that you've given me your best gig and your best show as to do with dementia.
No, and it just shows you, start with the thing that means the most rather than the thing that you think is funny at the start.
Steve Day.
I'm Steve Day. I'm
sitting down,
deaf comedian.
Because you're 61, you're getting a bit tired.
Yeah.
But you are very fit, because you started... When I first met you 20 years ago, you were quite a big guy.
Yeah, I was typical comedian, unfit, eating from the motorway service stations at night, not looking after myself, thinking I've been on stage, I deserve to have ice cream when I get home. And then I had a couple of, you get little warnings that you're not going to live forever. The first thing I did, I gave up drinking about 24 years ago. The best thing I've ever done. But if you don't drink, you've got to do something else, and that was to eat, comfort eat really. Yeah. And then my dad's dementia, the fact that I felt guilty, that I was actually quite glad when he died. So I ate my feelings for a bit, and I ballooned up. But it was in COVID. Now, I've been married for 26 years, and my wife's a very busy person. That's part of her nature, and I am just not. And she was at home in COVID, and this was a bit of a strain because she expected me to be busy. I'd never been busy. So I started to do things to look busy, and that's really tiring. You've got to concentrate on looking busy. So in the end, I ended up doing proper jobs because it was easier than looking busy. And I cleaned out our shed. Yeah. And when I cleaned out the shed, I rediscovered my bike that had been there gathering dust for a long time. And it was perfect because I could go out on my bike during COVID. It's one thing you're allowed to do. And I could get away from, I was busy, I was on my bike and I wasn't being told to do stuff. And that kind of escalated and got out of hand. And I ended up losing 30 kilos, so about 5 stone. Absolutely transformed just bit by bit. I didn't aim to do that. I was just doing something and I enjoyed it. And then from that, I got a chance to ride on the track in a velodrome at Derby. And I was hooked from the moment I did it. And that got out of hand as well. I ended up I've done 2 world championships. So it's age group, it's masters.
Yes.
So I'm 61, so I'm in the 64 age group. And we take part in the team sprint.
You're not going to sell ice creams going that fast, are you?
No, I know that one, yeah. Eddie Braben. I love Eddie Braben. He gets hardly any of the credit. He drew a picture of a telly on the wall because he knew every joke had to work on the telly and tried to imagine it in that telly.
So going back to your...
Yes, so I started track cycling in a velodrome and that got out of hand because I was hooked.
Right.
And it's such intense exercise, but it's over quickly, if you know what I mean. But our team, we took part in a world championship. So we do, one of the events is a team sprint, 3 men. We came 5th in the world.
And for your... Really?
5th in the world in our first go.
We've got an Olympian.
Sort of. Well, my wife's an Olympian, but that's another story. You'd never know because she doesn't mention it more than 4 times a day. And then we went back last year, but we got disqualified because we were a bit over-eager and we jumped the gun, we got disqualified.
Oh, is that literally jumping the gun?
Yeah. And then we're going back this year. It's in France, in Roubaix, and hoping to do.
That's brilliant, man.
It just gives you, I didn't think I'd be competing at anything age 61. It's just...
I think, does that help you? I mean, you seem transformed. I mean, I remember how you...
Well, the transform was the actual joy of being out. It just feels great. And then you get like a exercise high.
More ice creams.
Sorry?
There were more ice cream. There was another
ambulance.
ambulance.
Was there? All right, yeah. Sorry. But the thing about exercise, it just gained a momentum of itself.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it so much. You get like kind of a runner's high, and it's the same as cycling. Like, you're free, you're out.
Do you prefer that to stand up now?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's similar. In the World Championships, in the cycling, that was like doing a really brilliant, when it works.
Yeah.
Because it's like a dream. And like stand up, if it's not going well, it's really, really hard and time passes so slowly. But when it works, it's like being in a trance and you're in the zone, and that's very similar.
Yeah.
And so I found that those parts of track cycling were like being a new comedian again. The jeopardy, and it's quite scary being up on the track, and there's so many things to get wrong that it was very similar. But it helped when I was a bit nervous to think, I've done this before in comedy a few years ago. The other thing it taught me though, because track cycling is very process oriented. So you turn up on the championship and your race is at 11:15 and it's on the schedule. So you know you've got to be there at 9, you've got to do gradual warm up, then you've got to do a few exercises to wake your muscles up, and it's sort of, then you need to rest, and then you need to go on the rollers, and it's really, really linear and process, and I'm terrible at that. And I'm terrible at the mechanics part of it. So track bikes are quite simple, but the different gearing and need to be changed. You need to pump your tyres up, align everything, make sure the chain is the right tension. And I'm useless at it. And I realised doing that compared to everybody else that I probably got ADHD. On the comedy circuit, I'm probably one of the more organised people. Like, I turn up, I don't mess people about. But because the comedy circuit is such a low bar.
That's great.
When I go to cycling, I'm the mess up. I'm the one they find amusingly chaotic.
That's very fascinating.
And I think if I did an ADHD test, I probably would be that. But it doesn't matter it's no advice. I don't want to be the ADHD comedian because that's everybody. That's like entry level to be a comedian. Everybody's got it. It's not really new. Because, you see, my deafness, I was thinking the other day, now I'm 61, I might be this deaf anyway now. I've sort of caught myself up. So I got to work on another, I could see, could I do autism? But I can't really do it. But I could do ADHD, but as I say, that's just entry level for a comic.
I'm shooting Steve Day today in Edinburgh, and I'm using my powerhouse of a camera. It's the Fujifilm GFX 100S. This is a medium format camera, huge files, huge sensor. I'm using the 80mm 1.7, really fast lens. So if you shoot nearly wide open, you get beautiful background bokeh. Is it bokeh or bokeh? Bokeh. So this is the Fujifilm GFX 100S, beautiful camera. Steve Day, what's your worst gig?
I remember doing the Comedy Store, which was big. It was big news back then. So I'd done one open spot, it went really well, luckily.
Yeah.
They just liked me. And then I went back and I got so nervous because the Comedy Store, you're behind a door and there's no real place to be. Someone had to tell me when it was time to go on, and I needed a poo. I really, really did, and there was just enough time. There's a toilet in the changing room at the Comedy Store that you don't really do a poo in. You don't really. It's
For people who don't know, I mean, I've shot a lot of my backstagey documentary photography at the Comedy Store. It's one of the best places for me to shoot, and also it's one of the best clubs in the world for comedy. But that dressing room is very narrow, and there's a toilet at the end, and it's got the Tim Clark's office or something. There's a Tim Clark who did things that you're not meant to do in toilets, I presume, and everybody can hear everything because it's such a small dressing room. So back to your, is that kind of where we're going?
Don't do a poo in Tim Clark's office. But I was desperate, so I went in there and I thought, look, get it done quickly. And then I just couldn't flush it though. It just would not flush. Now, of all time, to get a floater, it would not flush. And I panicked and panicked and panicked, and I broke the handle. But there was no time. I had to go straight on stage, and I was ushered straight on stage, and I went on, and for at least 5 minutes, absolutely solid dying. Dying, not just, they hated me. And I looked down, and I had in my hand, white knuckles, I still had the broken bit of the toilet handle.
That's brilliant.
In my hand. I couldn't release my grasp on it. Anyway, so what I thought I'd do, so I wear a suit often. I had a suit jacket, and I put the toilet handle in the suit, and I thought, I'm gonna keep that with me all the time to remember, it's not worth it. Don't get so stressed. Remember the Comedy Store, right? It will never be as bad as that. But then a few weeks later, I had a gig abroad. I think it was in Denmark. And I went through Stansted and I set the alarms off because I realized I had the Comedy Store toilet handle.
That's brilliant.
It's still there, I think, at Stansted. There's a box where you put stuff in, and there's all last minute stuff. There's still the broken off handle from the Comedy Store.
Very quick, but did they ever find out that you took the handles?
Well, I disappeared. They might have done because they've been quite reticent about ever booking me again. It might be because of the broken toilet. And the floater, obviously, was still there.
It's still there, apparently.
So, broken handle floater, died on his arse. They think, yeah, we'll have him again. We'll have him in the next show.
Yeah.
Can I tell you about Tim Clark as well? Tim Clark is the reason I'm wearing a bandana.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Because I've shot Tim Clark. Lovely guy. He's kind of one of the big,
the OGs.
He was comparing all the time at the Comedy Store. But yeah, why is the bandana?
Well, the bandana first started in COVID because I would turn up at a shop and I'd forgotten a mask. So I thought if I have a bandana on, pull it down, it's a mask. Even had no medical value, but I could get in a shot. But I didn't wear it on stage, and I thought, what, are you bald? Are you bald? Live it. But then I did a run of gigs where I was like third baldy or one of three baldies every night for about 2 weeks. And it came to a head when somebody mistook me for Tim Clark, like for 70-year-old Tim. So I was him or he was me. I'm not having this. So just for differentiation and to convince people that I am not 70-year-old Tim Clark, I wore a bandana on stage. Because think about it, it's going to be three baldies. You might as well be the one that they remember or the other one.
Yeah, I'd have to put head to head like Tim Clark and you because people thought I was Steve Day.
Yeah,
I've had that as well.
Yeah.
I've just noticed you're wearing a watch. I'm going to come and sit. I was wearing a smartwatch. That's not really a smartwatch, is it? That's a digital.
It's a Garmin sports watch.
Oh, it's a sport. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because of the sport function.
Right.
Because on the bike, I forget to bring all the stuff.
Right.
On the bike, I just press a button and it records the ride. And in track cycling, it's important to know your numbers, power numbers, heartbeat, just to compare week to week, year to year.
I had that you could actually program your blood pressure into my one as well.
Right. And it tells you stuff you don't want to know.
That's the thing.
Like at the moment, it's telling me my sleep patterns are awful.
Really?
And it's got a thing called body battery.
Right.
And it kind of, how accurate it is, I don't know. But compared to itself over time, it gives you a good idea.
Yeah.
So I normally wake up, my body battery's over 80, sometimes touches 90. Since I woke up the other day, it was 19. And then it doesn't go any lower than 5.
Oh, really?
But I've been doing a thing here where I've been going across to Glasgow.
He's been getting up at 5 in the morning. 5 in the morning.
Yeah, to get to Glasgow for 6, to ride the velodrome there, and it's brilliant. But it starts at 19. By the time I finish there, it gets to 5, and it won't go any lower than 5. And then it just flatlines through the day, and then I do the show on 5.
Simon Mincy, who's the other producer, he's doing the show on 5.
Yeah. But at the moment, this morning it was 47, so that's pretty good. That's the highest it's been. Now I'm going home.
I've got this one. Can you read what it says on the hands?
No, Chinese, isn't it?
No. Mr. Jones watch MJW. It says, remember, you will die. It just made me laugh. I just think it's a lovely watch. They do 2 versions of this. They do this one, which is a quartz one, and they do a mechanical one as well, which kind of should have got really, because I do love mechanical rather than the quartz. But this, if you check out their website, they've got some amazingly mad designs where you think, how am I going to tell the time on this watch? But it does work out. You'll see them. Mr. Jones watch. Remember, you will die.
Oh, that's nice. That's lovely, that. Yeah, cheerful message.
Made me really laugh. They got some really mad designs.
My one says something like, seize the day or something, and then I just thought, oh, fuck off. First of all, you're saying you're really unfit and you've got no sleep. Seize the day.
So, Steve Day, if you could tour with one comedian, who would you tour with?
Favourites go from before I really went deaf. So I used to watch comedy with my dad, and my dad was quite a severe man, but he'd like to go to the pub, not get drunk, but come home and he'd had a couple, and there'd be comedians on the TV, old-time comedians, so Ken Dodd, Les Dawson, that sort of era.
Les Dawson.
And that's when my dad would be the most relaxed, and that's when it would be the best time in our house. I think that's probably the reason I became a comedian, because that in my head, that's good time. So we used to watch all that, and they were great. Those people were great. And then one day he came home and Parkinson was on, and Billy Connolly was on Parkinson. And I think it's the first time he was on, and he was so brilliant. And my dad actually fell off the settee laughing, and I'll never forget. And Billy was just brilliant. And I think a switch went. So I would have loved to, Billy in his heyday, you know.
Funnily enough, Liz Carr the other day said the same thing.
Absolutely Billy Connolly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, no question.
I've supported a few people on tour, and I support Gary Delaney, and we started about the same time, but he's brilliant, and he's been a friend since then. So he had me as tour support.
Yeah.
And I've supported him in 40-seaters, and on the last tour it was like 900. That's been so brilliant.
Yeah.
And he writes jokes that I couldn't. I can write one joke of that standard per year, and he just knocks them out.
He's a brilliant, I mean,
but he works so hard, and he's very clever.
Yeah.
Now he's going back on tour again, and I'm doing some work in progress supports for him.
Yeah.
And I know he will come up with an hour and a half of absolute quality, of completely, and there's no flab on any of his jokes, nothing.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell a story, he just tells the joke.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling to come up with 20 minutes that's new, but I've got to do something, because he's got 90 minutes that's all new. I can't just come up with the same old rubbish.
So, Steve Day, what is your favourite photograph?
Well, they come in different groups. So they're classic photographs, because when I was growing up, it was the end of the Vietnam War. There's one at Kent State University where the girl is pleading and her friend has been shot. As soon as you see that, it tells the whole story.
Yeah.
There's also a photograph of people trying to get on a helicopter, the last chopper out of Saigon. Yeah. And that, for me, summed up that whole conflict. And I did a gig in a place just outside Liverpool. It's a university called Edge Hill University, but it's really out and there's nowhere else. And they've got a bus that sort of goes into Liverpool, and it leaves about 7, just before our gig was about to start. And every student was trying to pile on this bus to get out of that university, and it really looked like the last chopper out of Saigon.
That's great.
Please, if I don't get on this, I've got to stay here all night. Yeah. More modern photographs. There's a photo up in our house of me and my 2 brothers. We grew up in the 70s, but there's a picture of us in our early 20s, around that sort of age, and we all look quite young. And I used to have self-conscious, and I'd lost my hearing and all that, but you know what, we didn't look too bad.
That's
then.
lovely. That's lovely.
And because a couple of women said, "Cool, I would." Well, you didn't at the time. People have taken pictures of me cycling in my kit, and is that me? Because I look like I know what I'm doing. I'm in a race, and I'm in the aero position, which I couldn't do for a long time. So I worked on flexibility and yoga and Asian squats, and I can move my body now.
Brilliant.
And I see pictures of me cycling in the World Championship thinking, is that me?
So I go sometimes into the dark room because of the photography. You have a dark room.
Yeah.
You know, mental health or problems throughout your career or life. Have you got any things?
Yeah, there's no other way of saying it. You wouldn't be in stand-up comedy if you didn't have some mental issues of some kind or another. I was addicted to alcohol, and I gave that up. Comedy's just another addiction, but it's an addiction you can make a living out of, and you can enjoy. But it can be so hard. And you put yourself through so much sometimes. It's impossible to explain how painful death can be. I mean, now, though, I've done 200 gigs a year for 26 years. So one death in that is where it's not great, it's not the average. But when you're just starting, my second gig was a death. The first 8, I think half were deaths. So 50% of your entire performing career is being in pain and realising people hate you. And my act is very me. It's not like I'm a character and they hate the character.
So they're more or less saying, we don't like you.
Yeah, it's not your material, we just don't like you. And also in the early days, so the deafness was a little bit different and would make people uncomfortable, which was fine if I was winning and make people laugh. But if I was not funny and deaf, they would be even more uncomfortable and hate me all the more. That was one of the big problems. And I'd assume they hated me, and that would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Before I started stand-up comedy, really, really in a dark place, thinking, is it worth going on? I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything in life. I couldn't speak to people. I couldn't, every conversation, and I'd go places and end up a party or something. I'd be invited, or go to the pub, like a work group or something, and just drink because that was the thing I could do.
Did you feel excluded?
Yeah, well you are, you can't, nobody excludes you on purpose.
No.
But like with you, I can talk to you with hearing aids, lip reading, and a lot of it's guesswork. I can have a conversation, but if there's any more than one person, I can't do the focus and I can't keep up. So in a group in the pub, no chance. So so all I can do is drink. That's one reason I had alcohol problems, because I became really, really good at drinking. No, really, really good. Like the first days of comedy, first time in Edinburgh, there'd be a party and you're supposed to network, aren't you? And I'd be back at home without even realising, because I'd just drifted away, and my whole life was like that, drifting away.
Where did the dark place take you? Were you going?
The thoughts of finishing, just
really?
ending it. So I never got round. Not practical, but thinking it really, really isn't worth. I'm just living to go to work, and that wasn't. It's IT, you know, making good money, but none of it made me feel good.
And what was the ultimate thing that brought you out of that place?
Right, there's a magazine called either Spotlight or Searchlight. Now one of these is anti-Nazi magazine, and one is about all the courses that are on at night school in London that I look through just to do, I don't know, conversational French or something, and I'd run in and it said stand-up comedy. Oh, because I'd always liked the comedians with my dad and all that, but I thought I couldn't do it, deaf, I can't do it. And I thought, well, I'll go to this. And it was the workshops at City Lit with Jill Edwards.
Okay, full circle in this interview.
And I just turned up there on a Monday, and I knew the minute it started, this is what I was going to do. The minute I got there, yes, I can do this. Wow. And Jill said to me, she said, because I didn't think I could do jokes, she said, this is a big advantage. Name me another deaf comedian. And I couldn't, because I hadn't heard. And even though I didn't really have I didn't have anything, but I knew this is what I was going to do, and I knew I'd be okay. And from that day, so that was 1997, and from that moment, that's the only thing I wanted to do.
I'm going to do a selfie. I always do a selfie.
Oh, right, yeah.
Let me just do a selfie. So Steve Day, that's been a fantastic interview.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I'll see you in an hour having a coffee. Thanks, mate. It's really great.
Oh,
really
my
good.
pleasure.
Steve Day. Thanks, Frankie.
I like doing that bit.